What's up, Aces? In our video today we'll be taking a look at the first few main bosses in TOWERBORNE. I'm your host Xantos, and I'll be walking you through some of my gameplay and giving tips on why understanding the patterns of these bosses could help you a lot in endgame. Be sure to join the TOWERBORNE Discord at discord.gg/TOWERBORNE. And without further ado, we're going to be running the first main mission node on the map, Snaggleshire. Now this mission only goes to danger level 3 with a suggested gear level of 178, so I'm actually going to bounce down to one of my lesser played classes, Pyroclast. And keep in mind, we're very over leveled here. I really like that this game doesn't restrict you from bouncing class to class and allows you to use gear on shared classes as well. A Gobo army might be forming at Snaggleshire, and rumors have surfaced of a Gobo lieutenant, so let's have a look, shall we? Snaggleshire is home to, you guessed it, Gobos, along with their spiky hedgehog armadillo friends that will attack you in hordes. The enemies here can pop up on any of the nodes in game, so familiarizing yourself with their patterns early on is a must. While they might not seem like the most intimidating foe, when attacking you in large numbers, things can get tricky with their array of spears, shields, claws, and bombs. Once you progress to the end of the Gobo encampment, you'll get to face against the Gobo Lieutenant Brute. This boss has an array of slashes and charges that can inflict you with bleed, and while fighting him, he'll continue to call for help from his Gobo minions. Keep in mind, your first few runs against this goblin won't be so easy, so be sure to study his moves and patterns. While we might make him look easy by burning him to a crisp on Pyroclast, bosses can pop up randomly in many missions in game. The Gobo Brute is fairly common, so I'm sure you'll see him again in other areas than just Snaggleshire, so be sure to practice. Upon defeating a boss, each level has a chest with some loot scaled to the difficulty of the mission. We'll be hopping up to Lichenfell Copse as our next mission. This mission's danger level goes up to 4 and has a recommended gear level of at least 267, so again keep in mind we're a bit over leveled here. Refugees are getting lost in the forest, and guards sent to investigate have yet to return, so let's investigate, shall we? Lichenfell is home to a new type of enemy, the Quivertail, a fitting name for these archers that will try to assault you with their rain of arrows. I really love the design of these enemies. They have a really cool looking game. They scale in difficulty from red to blue and finally white in color, and the alternate versions pack different sets of flaming arrows that can chunk down your HP with burn. Once you progress to the heart of the Quivertail's den, you'll be met with their leader, Flickertail. This boss is one I dread to see at higher difficulties due to its sheer speed, range, and assortment of attacks. It packs explosive multi-shot arrows that can stun you in place, and an array of flaming arrows as well. And if you get too close, it's not afraid to backhand you with the very bow it uses. While its attacks and speed are impressive, it does lack in defenses, so if you can land your hits, you can take down this boss's shield faster than most. And, as I mentioned earlier, bosses can appear randomly on any node, so be sure to practice this boss as you'll be seeing him in more places than just here. We're going to head north for our next mission and hit up Moldenweald. We'll be running on our stronger class, Shadow Striker, for this one because we can go to danger level 5 here. The mission has a recommended gear level of 327 and we're running with 436 on this class. Beyond Lichenfell Copse in the old forest, rumors of an enemy that repopulates quickly are surfacing. So, what do you say, Ace? Care to investigate? Moldenweald is home to our froggy friend enemies, or as I like to call them, frenemies. These bouncers have a jumping slash attack that will hit you with an array of different counters based on your own attacks. They scale in color from beige to green and finally blue. And be warned, while certain eggs might drop loot when cracked open, others can hold more enemies that will swarm you with jump attacks. At the heart of this mission lies Madpole Bouncer. Much like its smaller counterpart, the Madpole will attack you with jumping slashes that can inflict bleed if they land. However, this beefed up version can also hit you with a flurry of swipes that can lock you in place and do a ton of damage if it lands. So be sure to be on your toes when fighting this enemy. This is our first look at a boss at danger level 5 as well, and you can see they definitely take a few more hits than what we've seen prior at 3 and 4. Shadow Striker is honestly one of my favorite classes in game to play as well. With its ability to bounce and slice an enemy with speed and precision, it was a class I initially fell in love with in game. And as I said earlier too, I love being able to bounce from class to class, from mission to mission. It really helps keep the game fresh and accommodates to whatever playstyle you're feeling for that particular day. My build focuses heavy affliction based damages like burn, poison, and also healing for me portions of my damage dealt. I also run a cool legendary item I found as well called the Bee's Knees that afflicts enemies with a swarm of bees when I deal airborne damage. It's a really cool build, but alas, that's a whole other video in the works. Wrapping up Madpole here with a flurry of strikes from Shadow Striker, we had to flex on him a little for the victory. There's a ton of fun different emotes for you to collect too in game, along with a phenomenal variety of skins. I've had a lot of fun with some of the designs. I jumped over this mission initially as it only goes to danger rank 4, but the enemies and boss of Ratkin are ones that also appear quite frequently in game. Since my Shadow Striker class is currently maxed at 50, I'm going to run my Rockbreaker class and gain some experience and box my enemies into oblivion with punches and bunches. Ratkin is a Ratkin encampment with tons of these critters crawling. The Ratkin scale in difficulty from brown to grey, and finally a black and red armored version. They have an array of slash attacks and can also inflict bleed. They're also fairly nimble when it comes to dodging your attacks. Their leader is the ominous Rat Slasher Bloodletter, and much like his Ratkin friends, he comes equipped with a pair of blades that he'll try and combo you with to inflict bleed. His trademark attack, however, is also his downfall. The Rat Slasher will frequently launch a fairly avoidable tornado spin attack that will leave him dizzy and out of commission for a few seconds. As long as you're able to avoid the attack, you can often use this opportunity to drop his shield and really tee off on him with damage. Of the bosses, I find this enemy to be on the easier side, and as mentioned, you'll see him pop up quite a bit on nodes. Last mission we'll be running today is Orin Field, and this is another mission that can be ran at danger rank 5. Stoutswine came down from the mountains and are attacking refugees. Care to have a look, Ace? The Stoutswine are a boorish type enemy, equipped with shield and sword. They're definitely a tanky type enemy in comparison to Gobos, Ratkin, or Quivertail. They'll hold a defense with their shields up, and you'll have to perform a shield breaker attack in order to deal maximum damage. They scale from beige to white and finally a purple war paint type version. They'll attack you with charges, counters, shield bashes, and quick recovery ground counters as well. Oftentimes if you knock one on its ass, it'll bounce right back up and charge you with its tusks, so be sure to keep in mind where your attacks land when fighting them. Once you get to the heart of Orin Field, you'll be met with Borealis Stoutswine, and this guy does not give a f*** who gets in his way. Like a freight train, he runs through you and his minions without a care and can deal significant damage with his charge attack. He also fights you with ground and pounding attacks that can send shock waves through the ground that are also damaging, and in close combat, he's not afraid to try and hit you with an elbow drop attack. While his charge attack can be time consuming, once he's finished 3 to 4 charges, he often stops to catch his breath, and this is the opportune moment to try and drop some attacks on him and break his shield down. Rockbreaker is another great class in game. If you love throwing down and bashing your enemies with your fists, Rockbreaker is definitely your class. I'm grinding to max level on it currently, and I'm really excited to have almost all classes at max. But that's also why I'm taking the opportunity to make this video now and showcase a bit of variation of levels of the classes and give a better understanding of the scaling in game. And don't worry, there's going to be some Sentinel footage in the next video, I promise. Wrapping up Stoutswine here as we let him get all of his energy out before we tuck him into bed. I know these enemies don't have the craziest patterns in game, but as I said many times in the video, familiarizing yourself with their techniques will help you a lot in the long run of the game. Taking out one last rat pack here after Stoutswine before we charge onwards. Now, as I've said through the video, these bosses can appear a lot through the game, and not only on their own as well. Bosses can team up on specific nodes and attack you simultaneously, and while their patterns might not be all too complex on their own, when two are coming at you with a room full of attacking minions as well, sometimes things can get a bit messy, and this is where practice will make for perfection. So Aces, how did you enjoy my first official Towerborne video? Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your comments on the game, and if this is a game that you'd like to see more content on. I'm currently really enjoying the change of pace, so I hope you guys take interest as well. Thank you once again for tuning in to our video today. You can check out my live streams in the links here as well. And as always, Aces, stay grinding.